ROS to prepare a report on non-compliance of registered associations. Malaysia, Italy to collaborate in space industry development. Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos. Well, the new unity government cabinet led by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim is better in terms of numbers, experience and ability to develop the nation's economy. Now, the government spokesman Fahmi Fadil said some analysts stated that the reshuffled cabinet lineup announced yesterday is much better than the cabinet of the previous government. Fahmi said Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim wanted the cabinet ministers to work hard to solve the people's problems.
Dengan adanya contoh seorang teknokrat, beberapa ahli parlimen yang pernah berkhidmat dalam jemaah menteri, maka ada tanda yang positif penerimaan di kalangan rakyat dan juga peringkat akar umbi, malah juga daripada kalangan mungkin sektor korporat. Dan yang jelas Perdana Menteri telah memaklumkan bahawa hasrat rakyat untuk melihat perubahan itu adalah hasrat yang menggunung. Bermaksud ramai di kalangan menteri yang baru, kalau saya diizinkan berkata dalam bahasa Inggeris, they have to hit the ground running. Maka masuk hari ini terus bekerja hari ini. Tak ada honeymoon period.
Meanwhile, Fahmi, who is also Communications Minister, said the Department of Community Communications, or JCOM, which was previously under the Prime Minister's department, has now been placed under his ministry. The decision to place JCOM under his ministry was decided at the cabinet meeting chaired by Datuk Seri Anwar today. The Registrar of Societies, the ROS, has been instructed to prepare a report on the non-compliance of associations, including their involvement in illicit activities. Well, Home Minister Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said the Cabinet today ordered the Home Ministry to provide an initial report on the non-compliance following an incident involving an association that has been accused of misusing public donations.
Kaedahnya adalah pemantauan secara random terhadap persatuan. Gunanya bagi mengelak, pertama nak pastikan kepatuhan sesebuah pertubuhan itu dengan Undang-Undang Tubuh dan dengan Akta Pertubuhan 1966. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, sebagai langkah berjaga-jaga supaya jangan pertubuhan yang berdaftar itu dijadikan platform untuk aktiviti yang bercanggah dengan undang-undang. Seumpama cuci wang misalnya, ataupun membiayai kegiatan-kegiatan yang dianggap sebagai mengancam keselamatan.
Well, according to Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution, a total of 54,642 organizations have been deregistered since 1966. Well, the ROS has been implementing a rigorous screening process for registration applications for the past 3 years to ensure registered associations carry out beneficial activities for the members and show high compliance with the law. Meanwhile, ROS Director Datuk Muhammad Zulfikar Ahmad said ROS has conducted checks on 1,118 registered associations as of 10th December. Now, out of that number, a total of 26% of the societies were found to have breached the laws governing the formation or the constitution of the association. The National Registration Department is currently printing 160,000 delayed My Kid or children's identity cards, which will be distributed gradually as soon as the process is completed. Deputy Home Minister Datuk Seri Samsul Anwar Nasara said that parents or guardians could use the birth certificate temporarily for any business with the government or private entities while waiting for the My Kid to be ready.
Untuk makluman Yang Berhormat, Kementerian Dalam Negeri melalui Jabatan Pendaftaran Negara sentiasa komited untuk menyelesaikan isu tunggakan permohonan kad MyKid. Ini kerana sijil kelahiran dia merupakan satu dokumen pengenalan diri yang sah dikeluarkan oleh kerajaan dan agensi kerajaan dan swasta juga telah pun dimaklumkan untuk mengutamakan penggunaan sijil kelahiran sementara menunggu kad MyKid.
The Deputy Minister also assured that the MyKid issue would not recur next year, as the NRD is currently in the procurement process of 3 million identification cards to meet the demand. He said the department has made various efforts and has already resolved 140,000 delayed MyKid cards for 2021 and 2022, and they have approximately 15,000 MyKid cards that are yet to be printed and are expected to be ready by the end of this month. Well, restoration work to clean up the tracks at the Rawang train station, which was affected when a crane used for the construction of a multi-level car park project collapsed yesterday, is being carried out and expected to be completed within 24 hours. Now, Kereta Api Tanah Melayu Berhad KTMB Group Chief Executive Officer Dato' Muhammad Rani Hisham Samsudin said the restoration work involved the re-installation of broken cables, replacement of damaged components, and testing of the electricity supply to the overhead line. Now, he said the 5:33 p.m. crane collapse incident at the kilometre 355.749 spot of the train tracks between Rawang and Kuang stations severed the overhead line. Dato' Muhammad Rani said no injuries were reported due to the incident, but it disrupted the Klang Valley electric train services, or ETS, and KTM commuter services for the KL Central Tanjung Malim KL Central line, as well as the cargo train services, with the services experiencing delays of over 2 hours. Muhammad Rani said that as a preliminary measure, KTMB has isolated the electricity supply to the affected line to ensure the area is safe for restoration work and avoid any untoward incidents. Well, KTMB has also provided 24 shuttle buses to ferry the affected passengers to the nearest stations for them to continue with their journey. Next up in a business segment, FBM KLCI trending 10% to 15% below its historical average. Well, Italy is ready to share its vast experience and expertise in space industry with Malaysia and in helping the country to achieve its ambition of becoming a major player in the sector by the year 2030. Italian ambassador to Malaysia, Massimo Rostico, said there is a huge potential for collaboration in the sector between the two countries, noting that while the Italian Space Agency, or ASI, has been a global forerunner in the industry, Malaysia has progressive and advantageous ecosystem that support the development of space industry. Speaking to the media at the Italian National Space Day 2023 celebration held at his residence, Rostico said these include a committed government, excellence in technical and engineering studies, young talents, and investment and growth of high technology industries.
Well, we are really working with MISA and the Italian Space Agency to try to finalize as soon as possible a general agreement, so that then will be helpful, extremely helpful, to go into the real projects, etc., etc. So this is what we've been discussing at the level of MISA. Even mostly I had the honor and the pleasure to meet His Excellency the Minister, so that on the Italian side we are absolutely determined to go ahead, and I've seen our Malaysian friends and counterparts are exactly fine-tuned as we are on the same frequencies.
Director General of Malaysian Space Agency, or MISA, Azli Kamil Napia, meanwhile said key aspects of the collaboration would involve space science and exploration, space technology including ground infrastructures and services, space applications such as remote sensing, navigation and communication satellite applications. Italian National Space Day 2023, observed on 16 December annually, celebrates Italy's achievements in the field of space technology, and in conjunction with the launch of the first Italian satellite, San Marco Uno, on 16 December 1964. Well, RAM Rating Services Berhad's Bond Market Monthly December 2023 has highlighted that foreign investors turned net purchases in November after 3 successive months of net selling. Now, the overall net foreign inflow amounted to 5.4 billion ringgit, led by Malaysian government securities or MGS and government investment issues, GII, amounting to 5.6 billion ringgit. Well, it said the rebound in investor appetite for emerging market bonds was fueled by growing bets that major global central banks would cut rates in the first half of next year. Now, according to CME FedWatch tool data, the market assigned probability of a rate cut at the March 2024 Federal Market Open Committee meeting rose to about 43% as of end November 2023, up from around 8% a month earlier. Well, RAM Ratings said the better investor sentiment triggered a rally in regional bond markets, tracking price gains in the United States Treasury market. Bond yields largely trended further downwards in early December, albeit at a more moderate pace, as traders appeared to have tempered their rate cut bets. Now, the 10-year USD and MGS yields stood at a respective 4.20% and 3.80% as of 12 December. Meanwhile, the ringgit trended around 4.67 against the greenback in early December after appreciating to 4.65 as at the end of November on the back of a weakening US dollar. Rakuten Trade Sendirian Berhad anticipates the FTSE Bursa Malaysia KLCI or FBM KLCI to hover around the 1,590 mark based on the prevailing valuation premised on the 2024 estimates, and could test the 1,650 mark based on 16.0 times market price to earnings ratio. The head of research, Kenny Yee, said the FBM KLCI is trending around 15 times market price to earnings ratio, or about 10 to 15% below its historical average.
Despite the lackluster performance of Asian market, I remain adamant that foreign investors will be back to Asia. I mean, I don't think they can ignore Asian market, when US equities have touched the valuation ceiling, right? And they have to endure, all this bull-bear debate, on a daily basis, according to their economic data and whatnot. I think most evidently, it is worthwhile to note that Wall Street may have outpaced the fundamentals. So, in this sense, right, we can expect some fund managers with their mind correctly tuned may look to diversify elsewhere.
Speaking during the virtual media briefing on Malaysia's year-end market outlook today, Kenny expects the FBM KLCI to touch 1,510 by year-end based on 16.0 times from its earlier target of 1,560 due to lowering of earnings forecasts. Well, he said although the performance on the local front was poorer, there has been some consistent buying on small caps, which contributed towards the better performance from the index. On retail participation, Kenny said a large number of initial public offerings or IPOs might have affected retail participation of late. In 2023, saw about 30 IPOs, mopping up a total of 3.5 billion ringgit.
However, I think as we expect more money to be channeled into the blue chips, hopefully this will spill over to the smaller cap. I think smaller caps now, as you can see, although there are some buying interests, but it is always rather short-lived. So what we hope to see is the longer-term life in buying interest for this small cap.
On the ringgit, Kenny said the local note should test the 4.40-4.50 range if the U.S. Federal Reserve easing rate trend were to happen along with the massive foreign direct investments into the country. He also said the movements of the ringgit and FBM KLCI will not be influenced by the new cabinet lineups, as it is too early to judge. Well, Proton Holdings Berhad has unveiled the Proton Operational Excellence, or POE, initiative to improve the performance of its service centres nationwide and nurture trust in its commitment to excellence. Now, the national car maker said the initiative will kickstart with 13 pilot outlets and expand to its 3S, which is sales, service and spare parts, and 4S, consisting of sales, service, spare parts, and well as body and paint services facilities outlets nationwide. Now, according to Proton, the POE's focus areas include adherence to high-quality service processes, technician competencies, future dealer management system, integration and building trust in the brand. Proton ADA Sendirian Berhad Chief Executive Officer Roslan Abdullah said with a 3S and 4S network of 155 outlets, Proton's increased warehouse capacities have significantly reduced lead time delivery by at least 30%. Roslan added that Proton has opened 2 new warehouses in Peninsular Malaysia, along with a new warehouse in Kuching, Sarawak, and will soon open another one in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, to cater to parts demand and supply in Sabah and Sarawak. Well, global cybersecurity firm Fortinet today revealed that ransomware incidents among organizations across Malaysia have doubled in 2023 compared to the previous year, according to its latest study conducted by International Data Corporation. The survey, commissioned by Fortinet, involved 550 information technology leaders across Asia-Pacific, covering 11 markets. That's Malaysia, Australia, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, New Zealand, Singapore, Thailand, South Korea, the Philippines and Vietnam. Fortinet Vice President of Marketing and Communication, Asia, Australia and New Zealand, Rashish Pandey, noted that over 50% of organizations surveyed in Malaysia reported that they experienced at least 2 times increase in ransomware attacks this year.
You know, there are now different levels of ransomware. Earlier it used to be, I lock you out, you pay me, I unlock you. Now there's another level which says, you pay me, but I take your data and I sell it to a third party. Another level is, you pay me, I unlock it, sell it, but then I destroy all your previous data. So there are multiple levels of ransomware that we see coming out in the market today.
According to Rashish, ransomware incidents were evolving into a ransomware-as-a-service method, which involves attacks from organized crime syndicates, making it more persistent. He noted that financial institutions and e-commerce businesses emerge as the most vulnerable sector to experience cyber attacks, as the majority of the threats were economically motivated. Rashish also did not rule out that the manufacturing and supply chain sectors are also exposed to the possibility of cyber attacks in the future, as there are many loopholes for the threat actors to get into the system. Well, Small and Medium Enterprises Association, known as Samenta, is hopeful that the new cabinet will continue to promote economic growth, engage in the industry in major policy changes, as well as stabilize the cost of goods and cost of doing business in general. Now, in a statement following a cabinet reshuffle, it said among the other priorities of the new lineup are creating high-value jobs, removing unnecessary regulatory burdens to businesses, and reforming the labor laws and wages. Now, it said taking the opportunity, Samenta also made the call for the formation of a cabinet-level future of work task force to assemble political leaders, the industry and the academia to plan and develop Malaysia's response to the changed talent market. It said Stephen Sim has an important and challenging task as the new Minister of Human Resources, as labour and wage reforms are among the most important issues in the transition to economy madani and has a direct and lasting impact on the economy and industry. Samenta said it would continue working closely with the Entrepreneurship Development and Cooperatives Ministry under the leadership of Minister Dato' Ewan Benedict and new Deputy Minister Dato' R. Ramanan to support the development of the country's small and medium enterprises, or SMEs. Malaysia will increase its collaborations with Asia and the Pacific statistical community to expand statistical capacity building programs and activities, particularly in implementing and monitoring the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Now, Chief Statistician Dato' Sri Muhammad Uzir Mahidin said the Department of Statistics Malaysia, DOSM, as a member of the Governing Council of the Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific, or SIAP, demonstrates Malaysia Malaysia's international commitments by facilitating the development, promotion and sharing of best statistical practices and knowledge across global statistical communities to advance the global agenda. Well, it said Malaysia has a broad platform for knowledge sharing and expertise for sustainable and participatory statistical capacity development, in addition to strengthening international cooperation through the Malaysia Statistics Training Institute. Well, it said Malaysia is supporting SIAP's efforts to achieve the goals and expectations outlined in the SIAP Strategic Plan 2021-2025 and to improve the statistical system for decision making. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Economy's Secretary General, Datuk Nur Azmi Diron, said by leveraging big data, artificial intelligence and machine learning solutions, data inputs could be turned into meaningful insights in a timely manner. The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, has completed Sri Lanka's first review under the 48-month Extended Fund Facility, or EFF, arrangement, allowing the South Asian country to access about $337 million to support its economic policies and reforms. Now, the IMF said in a statement that Sri Lanka's performance under the program was satisfactory, with all but one performance criteria and all but one indicative target being met at end June. Now, the statement said most structural benchmarks due by the end of October 2023 were either met or implemented with delay. Now, the IMF said Sri Lankan authorities have made commendable progress toward restoring debt sustainability, raising revenue, rebuilding reserve buffers, reducing inflation and safeguarding financial stability. IMF also said a strong commitment to improving governance and protecting the poor and vulnerable remains critical, and sustaining the reform momentum is of paramount importance in steering the country's economy towards a sustained recovery and fostering stable, inclusive economic growth. In March this year, the IMF approved a 48-month extended arrangement under EFF of about $3 billion to support Sri Lanka's economic policies and reforms. New Gaza crossing opens for aid truck inspections. That and more coming up. Well, the Israeli Agency for Civilian Coordination with the Palestinians, Kerana, released a video via X set to show aid trucks being inspected and transferred to Gaza. Now, according to Kerana, 197 aid trucks were screened and directed towards Gaza via the Kerem Shalom crossing. Now, the agency said 117 of those trucks were inspected at Nitzana and 80 at Kerem Shalom. And Reuters was able to confirm the location by buildings, guardrails, greenery and road layout which match satellite imagery of the area. A new process for inspecting aid for Gaza at the Kerem Shalom crossing is being tested, but efforts to get permission for trucks to enter through the crossing and ramp up relief are still ongoing. Now, under the new system, trucks would come to the Kerem Shalom crossing on the border between Israel, Gaza and Egypt for the first time from Jordan before entering Gaza from Rafah. Well, Senegal became the first country in West Africa to place certain detainees under electronic monitoring, part of efforts to reduce prison overcrowding, a widespread problem on the continent. Now, the World Prison Brief, or WPB, latest data for Senegal shows that occupancy level was around 130% higher than official capacity in March 2018. Tagging was legally approved in 2020 and came into effect at the start of this year. Lieutenant Moussa Diaye, who heads the monitoring team, said the bracelets allow them to monitor the movements of those accused of crimes while they await either trial or judgment.
La deuxième chose que je vois et que je constate, c'est que ça permet aussi de lutter contre les longues détentions provisoires. Parce que la plupart des gens, ce qu'on leur donne, c'est des inculpés. C'est des inculpés qu'on assigne à résidence. Cette personne, elle est là, elle est en attente de jugement pendant des années. Il n'y a pas d'alternative. Mais quand le bracelet est là, on le fait sortir et on le surveille en attendant son jugement. Donc l'intérêt, c'est d'abord lutter contre la surpopulation carcérale. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, vous entendez 200, c'est une grande prison. Hein? Déjà, on a créé une grande prison parce que les gens sortent. Donc 200, c'est extraordinaire.
He said electronic monitoring allows detainees to work, study, be with their families, and even play sport. But social stigma made it almost impossible for tagged detainees to live full lives. South Africa introduced electronic tagging as an alternative to incarceration in 2014, and Morocco and Togo have started legal procedures for its adoption. Tropical cyclone Disember hit northeast Australia today, leaving thousands of people in coastal communities without power and preparing for potentially life-threatening floods. The Category 2 storm barreled in off the Coral Sea, making landfall at around 5 p.m. Damaging winds of up to 113 kilometers per hour were recorded as Disember hit the coast, while meteorologists said pummeling rains could swamp some areas with flash flooding. About 15,000 homes were left without electricity as winds picked up Wednesday afternoon. A sperm whale has died in Western Australia days after it was filmed in shallow waters among dozens of delighted beachgoers. Curious swimmers paddled out to stroke the 30-ton mammal after it was spotted close to shore south of state capital Perth over the weekend. But wildlife officers urged crowds to stay away from the 15-meter whale, saying it was clearly sick and dying. A traditional Aboriginal smoking ceremony was held on Tuesday evening to farewell the whale, a species of deep significance in local indigenous law. Coming up in sports, PSG boss unawed by Dortmund final. Well, the Football Association of Malaysia, FAM, today confirmed that next month's international friendly against Saudi Arabia has been cancelled. Well, the FAM Secretary General, Dato' Nur Azman Rahman, said the match against the world number 56, scheduled for 4th of July, or rather January, had to be cancelled at the request of Saudi Arabia's new coach, Roberto Mancini. Dato' Nur Azman said this was because Mancini felt that his team might face Malaysia in the last 16 of the 2023 Asian Cup, which will be held in Doha, Qatar from 12 January to 10 February. If Saudi Arabia emerge as Group F champions and Malaysia finish second in Group E, these two teams will clash in the last 16 on 30th January. According to Dato' Nur Azman, the international friendly, which was supposed to be a warm-up game ahead of the Asian Cup, had been long planned and agreed upon by both teams. It is learned that FAM are trying to get a replacement team that is either on par with Saudi Arabia or at least meets the requirements of Harimau Malaya head coach Kim Pan-gon ahead of the Asian Cup campaign. And Paris Saint-Germain coach Luis Enrique said he was unfazed by the pressure ahead of tomorrow's crunch visit to Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League. Now, PSG need to win in Germany to guarantee progress to the knockout stages and avoid falling into the Europa League for the first time since the club was taken over by Qatari investors in the year 2011. Luis Enrique, who won the Champions League as manager of Barcelona in 2015, dismissed suggestions his position could be under threat.
Creo que lo más importante es saber cuáles son tus fuerzas, tus mejores capacidades para tratar de plantear el partido de la mejor manera. Y si no quieres presión, pues no debes de firmar por clubes grandes como jugador y como entrenador. O sea que ningún problema con lo de la tensión, ningún problema con lo de la presión y a disfrutar del show. And that wraps up this evening's Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, the ROS to prepare a report on non-compliance of registered associations. Do tune in to World Today, coming up tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on TV2. And from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm Mohammed M. Carlos. Thanks for watching.